Hi all, I'm Trisha Peach, host of the Peach Buzz. Just a few last minute reminders if you haven't done your Christmas musical, Christmas production yet, and I know quite a few of you kids ministry leaders, this is it. This is the weekend or next weekend. If you've already done it, whew, kudos to you. Give yourself a pat on the back. You did it. High five. For the rest of us that haven't gotten ours out of the way yet, it's coming. It's coming up. And wow, it got here fast, didn't it? It got here so fast. It feels like, whoa, we did our back to school celebration, barely slid into a Harvest Fest type of thing, and bam, now it's Christmas production. So just a couple things to remember to encourage you before this happens. Number one, your dress rehearsal is probably going to be completely off the rails. Completely nuts. Every kids pastor I've ever talked to, when they go into that final dress rehearsal, that's when the lead suddenly forgets all their lines. You just move them onto the main stage and everything you've learned goes right out the window. They start to go, this is a nightmare. This is never going to happen. The kids pastor goes, how did we get into this mess? How did we get to this point? I need 3 more weeks. 4 more weeks, another year. We're not ready. This is going to be a disaster. Let me just encourage you. It's an old saying among kids ministry leaders. We usually say terrible dress rehearsal, great performance. Meaning you may have an awful dress rehearsal, but usually the kids and your leaders pull it through for the actual production. So don't run screaming out the back door. Don't decide that's it. I'm not going to be a children's pastor anymore. Just get through what you got to get through. It's going to be okay. Which leads me into number 2. So number 1, your dress rehearsal could be a complete, herding cats experience. Number 2, you need to have the right expectations going in. As you know, as a kid min leader, you make these plans and then life laughs hysterically at your plans, especially in kids ministry. So if you're going into this kids program hoping for perfection, you might as well have hoped to, ride in a unicorn that was barfing rainbows and cupcakes. It doesn't work that way. You're not going to get perfection. So your expectations need to be different. Your expectations should not be if something goes wrong, it should be when something goes wrong. All your hard work and preparation, all that does is decrease, hopefully, the scope and impact of what goes wrong and keeping the emphasis on what goes right. What should your expectations be if not perfection? I would say that you could ask yourself these questions later. Did these kids have fun? You say, well, is that really important? Yes. It is, because if they have fun doing ministry and being in ministry, hopefully they'll want to come back and do more ministry. That's what it's all about, right? So, did the kids have fun? 2, did God really minister? Was there a gospel presentation given? Success! Yes, God was able to minister and the gospel went forth on Christmas. What else could God want more on his birthday? One I always ask myself is, did we have visitors? Because if you did a kids ministry program and you had no visitors, that might be something to do better next year. There should be, if kids are doing anything at all, yodeling backwards and upside down and in Japanese, then their parents, grandparents, uncles, cousins, roommates, janitors should be there to see it. They love to watch kids do things. So you should have visitors. If you don't have any visitors, it probably means there's some problems there in advertising. Yes, you should have visitors. That should be a big expectation. So if you had visitors, the gospel went forth, the kids had fun, that's what matters. That is what matters. And I would say a 4th would be, did we give it everything we had? Did we do this with excellence? You can do something with incredible excellence and still have things go wrong. I had many that I practiced for months, and we had more than one dress rehearsal, and then at the moment of the performance, the sound person started playing the wrong song. The kids stood still, they did exactly as we trained to do, and they waited till the right song started, and then they went. It worked out anyway, and people had a good laugh at it. It was not a big deal. Things go wrong. We've had a microphone die while one of our keys is on stage, and then an angel runs up from the back to hand him a spare battery, and on we go. The show goes on. It's not the end of the world. So if something goes wrong, that you weren't after perfection anyway, this is to honor God. This is to honor Jesus' birthday. And I think Jesus absolutely loves it when kids are up front ministering. My mother loves to tell the story on me that when I was 4, I was playing Mary, and all of a sudden I stood up. I don't remember this, by the way, but I said, I have to pee. And I walked off the stage and went to the bathroom, and then came back and went up on the stage right back into the manger, plop. And people were laughing, and I didn't even seem to notice. But here I am. It didn't warp me forever. I'm a kids pastor, so I would say lower those expectations. So number 1, your dress rehearsal could be an absolute zoo. 2, your expectations need to be correct going into this. Don't expect perfection. 3, don't expect that everyone else on your staff remembers this like you do. This may become your whole world here in this next week, this weekend. This is your whole scope of vision. But for your sound person and your senior pastor, they've got 1,200 other things that they're thinking about, and they may have already forgotten that you asked to have the stage cleared to a certain point. They might have already forgotten that you needed a sound person for that day, or that you needed the screen down. So be patient, keep communicating clearly. I prefer to communicate early, often, and in writing. Because without fail, you're going to have somebody say, well, nobody ever told me. And I can be like, here, you answered me on these 3 occasions. It seems to have slipped your mind. So that way I can cover my bases and make sure that we can have what we need on the day of. But I don't expect them to remember this, to remember every detail like I do. And I have to keep reiterating over and over again. And don't you love it when one of the sound people says something like, oh, well, just tell the kids not to touch any of the things on the stage. Yeah, just tell them not to touch anything. That's usually the ones that don't have any children of their own. Oh, tell the 3-year-olds don't touch anything. Don't touch any cords. Don't touch any buttons. Yeah, that's going to happen. So you have to keep communicating and making sure that gets across to everyone that needs to hear it. 4, you need to plan some downtime after this, and don't tell me it's impossible. I was at a church of 3,000, a million things going on, and I had to make it happen. You are going to be exhausted. You're going to be maybe a little down right after this happens, and then you have the monster of Sunday and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing already encroaching. So you need to communicate well that, hey, that Monday, Tuesday, maybe even Wednesday, I'm not available. I'm sorry. I'm sick. I'm dead. I'm on Mars. I cannot respond. I'm going to have my out of office on. I said before, I need to be dead for about 3 days, and then I'll resurrect in time to get the stuff ready for Sunday. So they're not probably going to understand that because they've got other things that they're looking at. You need to be good to communicate that and put your out of office on and fight for that. That got me through some tough times when I'd say, you know what, I'm going to keep a promise to myself, and I'm going to have a couple days of downtime. And it's hard in such a busy season. And you also need to have that time with your own family. And yes, I know how hard that is, especially this year with Christmas on Sunday. You're going to have trouble having time with your own family. Make it a priority. Make it happen. It won't happen if you don't fight for it and plan for it and work toward it. Okay, so that's extremely important. And 5, this is also extremely, extremely important. You're going to have everything fly at you all at once, right in the week before, the day of the production. I personally believe this is the enemy throwing everything and the kitchen sink at you to discourage you, to exhaust you. You're going to have trouble sleeping. That'll be the day the dog runs off. You're arguing with your spouse. I mean, I would never know what that was like. That's when your kid's going to start coughing and have a fever. This is when a parent's going to demand a meeting with you, and it's going to be that day, or else you'll have 2 of your leaders fighting each other, and you're in the middle trying to, peace. What I would encourage you to do is only step into those that are absolutely, absolutely necessary. Again, you need to expect that in the week before and the day of. This is the enemy, and you're going to have to redirect people and say, hey, we need to get our focus back on the ministry we're trying to do here. We need to get our focus back on what God's trying to do here. And my rule is, I won't do any of those high emotion meetings with parents or leaders in the days before or the day of the play. Period. End of discussion. I will not, because emotions are running high and the enemy's trying to get a blow in right before we're going on. What I will do is say, I'm really sorry, I can't do that. We've got too much going on this week. I will do it a week later. I've got my downtime planned, and we will meet, and I will give you an hour of my time, and we will fix this, but not right now. And I promise you, 99.9% of the time, the minute the production is over, they're like, you know what? It's okay. I've had a couple of them afterwards go, I'm sorry. God really convicted me of my behavior during that, and I was really going to let you have it. And usually 99.9% of the conflict goes away when the production is done. So I won't even tackle it till after it's done. I will tell people, I hear you. Now let's get back in here and finish the ministry that we have gotten in here to do. I would beg you to do that, because the enemy will try to get you pulled into this staff argument and to this argument about which set we're going to use and why isn't it here yet, and this sound guy isn't taking this seriously, and why are, you need to push all of that away. I usually tell my interns, you're a linebacker at this point, and you need to duck your head and run for the goal. And you plow through anything and everything on the way to get to your goal, because you're going to do this outreach ministry. Push the rest of the peripherals and deal with it after the outreach and your downtime. Okay, that's not selfish, that's self-preservation. And that's cutting off a lot of the enemy's leeway on you if you refuse to be drawn into outside issues till you finish the outreach. Okay? And also, if you're expecting it and you can have God kind of go, whoa, this is a distraction, get back on track and get things done. So some things you have to do. Go find that dog that ran off. Take your kid to the doctor. Talk things out with your spouse. Figure out if you're going to have the set work or not. But at the end of the day, you put off whatever you can to finish the ministry that you need to do. And last but not least, number 6, don't forget to celebrate. This is the biggest one. We ask other people to pray for us. We work so hard, and then nobody hears anything afterward. Did it go well? Did God move? Did you have visitors? Did the kids do an incredible job? Did they minister? And we never hear anything about it. Those testimonies need to be shared. So I always plan a day, sometimes a week after the outreach, the kids musical, that we share testimonies, pictures. I have a little, ornament for everybody, and we celebrate. Sometimes we get a cake and we celebrate. Hey, we did a great job and we won. We won. And then they're that much more likely to be right there with you for the next kids production, the next kids outreach. This is also your best time to put in writing what went well, what didn't go well, what are we going to do differently next year. And you can also expect the day before your kids musical, you're going to go, I am never doing this again. How did I get myself into this mess? I don't know, but this is going to be a nightmare, and I am never doing this again. And then the day after the musical, you'll be like, oh my goodness, I miss it. I miss the rehearsals. I miss the kids. It was so beautiful. We should do this one next year. Just expect that. Just expect that to happen. Bottom line, thank you for what you do for Jesus and his kids. Thank you for doing this outreach to celebrate Jesus' birthday. Thank you for pouring into the lives of kids and giving them a chance to minister. God bless, and I hope these tips help. Answer down below, what tips do you have for getting through those last final days before your kids' ministry production? We love you guys. I will see you next week on the Peach Buzz.